I'm Larry Ramirez. I'm the Director of High Schools for Salem-Keizer. We also have some other people on the call, district staff. We have communications team members. We have Matt Biondi, the middle school director, does the same job I do for middle schools. Real quick disclaimer before we jump in is this will be recorded so we can have it available for other families that aren't able to join us right now. So just know that we're all being recorded. So I would just want to make sure everybody is aware and be upfront about that so that we can have this to post on our website so other families can access it if they couldn't make it with us tonight. Okay, so just so everybody's aware. Anybody else before we get started on the slides? There will be a presentation, just to give you a quick outline or summary of what we plan on doing tonight. We have some slides to share, and then at the end of our presentation, we will do some question and answer for you. We'll answer anything that we already know, and anything that we don't, we will research. We do have a question and answer FAQs on the district website as well for families to be able to also look for the questions that have already been asked and answered. But with that, I think we'll get going.
Okay.
We'll start with this short video here about re-entry.
Hello, middle school and high school families. We want to give you an idea of what school will look like when we begin hybrid learning. Your cohort days determine which days of the week you will come to school in person, and that could be on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Wednesdays and Fridays. Before you enter the school building, you will need to wear your face covering. This is very important as it helps keep you and the other individuals in the school building healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. We know this will be an adjustment for you, but you've done hard things throughout this pandemic, and we know you have got this. Also, it's very important that your face covering is covering your nose and your mouth, and that you avoid touching your face. Remember to clean your face covering every day. If you do not have a face covering, please let a teacher or someone in your school office know before entering, and they will help you. The way you enter the school building will look different this year. Your entrance will depend on your cohort group or grade level. Your principal will share these specific details with you as we get closer to launching secondary hybrid.
As you enter the school, you will notice these new hand sanitizer stations. We want to make sure that our hands are clean when we come into the school building. Please stop at the hand sanitizer station to clean your hands. You will also wash your hands often and have access to hand sanitizer throughout the day. While we will be performing visual screenings for illness, we do need your help. Please do not come to school sick or if you are not feeling well. Please reach out to your medical provider for guidance, and remember to call the school office regarding attendance. When you head to your classroom, you may notice arrows on the floor. The arrows are showing you which direction to move in the hallways. Walking on one side of the hallway will help keep hallway traffic spread out. Remember to keep 6 feet of distance between you and your friends.
When you arrive at your classroom, you'll either use hand sanitizer or wash your hands and then proceed directly to your seat. Some schools will stagger passing times, so not all students will be switching classes at the exact same time. This will help to keep hallways clear. One thing to know is that we will not be using school lockers this year. You will be carrying your backpack with you to each class. Pack lightly, but don't forget to bring your charged Chromebook so you can work on projects and turn in assignments without passing paper around the classroom. If you do not feel well during the school day, please let your teacher or a staff member know right away. Your teacher will help you get the assistance you need from trained staff members. School staff will care for you and your health needs while creating separation of sick and healthy students while you're waiting for pickup. We are so excited to have you all back in school. Your teachers and other school staff members are here to support you while we all learn how to go to school during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I want to thank
Hello,
communication.
middle school and high school families.
So let's review this slide here. As you can see, these dates here, April 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, kind of show what when your students will be starting back up with the hybrid in-person learning. So just starting with that first line there, middle school 6th grade, they're either going to start on Tuesday the 13th, or they're going to start on Wednesday the 14th. depending, again, if you're assigned the Tuesday, Thursday cohort or the Wednesday, Friday cohort. You see grades 9 and 10, freshmen, sophomores there, same idea. You either start the Tuesday the 13th and you'll be on the Tuesday, Thursday cohort, or you start on Wednesday the 14th and you'll be on the Wednesday, Friday cohort. We don't bring all kids in, all grade levels into the middle schools and high schools at the same time. So you'll see that 7th and 8th graders there will either start on the 15th or the 16th. Again, the Tuesday or must that be Thursday or Friday. And then the same thing there, you'll see with 11th and 10th graders, or 11th and 12th graders, excuse me, the 15th or 16th, which would be, again, the other days, the Wednesday or Friday, Thursday or Friday. Okay. What is hybrid learning? We've been learning and planning for this for a year now. So this is what it looks like. As you've seen that you signed up for hybrid learning, knowing that hopefully one day we would get to this point of being able to have students come 2 days a week to school and be able to learn from home 2 days a week. So this is what this graphic is trying to show you. So if I'm looking at the graphic on the far left, learn at school. So say I'm a Tuesday, Thursday student, I'd be learning at school on the Tuesdays, Thursdays. On the Wednesdays, Fridays, I would be learning at home. And then the same thing could be said if I was on the right side there. If I learn at home Tuesday, Thursday, then I'll be at school Wednesday, Friday. So hopefully that makes the graphic make sense to everyone. You can go to the next slide. Okay, this slide, what is a cohort? Why are students assigned to cohorts? A cohort is a group of students. I'll just read the slide here, even though I don't like reading slides to people, but let me just read the slide and then I'll talk a little bit about it. A cohort is a group of students that will attend school in person on the same days. This supports contact tracing to ensure we maintain healthy learning environments. So I'm either going to be, again, on a Tuesday, Thursday cohort or a Wednesday, Friday cohort. And what that bullet is explaining there, which some of you may or may not know, what we need to be able to do at schools is to be able to know which students have been in contact with each other if there was a case of COVID. So this helps us break the school basically into half, because half would come Tuesday, Thursday, half would come Wednesday, Friday. And then in those cohorts, we would be able to separate students well enough to give them their physical distancing space and be able to report, I know that student A was in contact with these students, and that would be a way for us to be able to contact trace. And there's a whole procedure that would go into play if that were to happen. But we're really just looking at ways to be able to give everybody their space. That's why we're doing the 2 days a week from school and 2 days at home, and to be able and have the system in place to be able to know if there was a case of COVID, who was in contact with whom. Find your student's cohort through Parent View. So this would be through the app here, the Parent View app. If you have that app, you'd be able to look at the student info, click on the student info, and then you'll go to the additional information. So again, student info to additional information, and then under the additional information, under the other data there, you'll see this student here that we're showing the screen on is on the Tuesday, Thursday in school. The cohort Tuesday, Thursday tells you when you're in school. Okay. This is doing finding the same information, but through a computer. So if I don't have the app on my phone, I could use Parent View on a computer. I would go to student info. Then at the bottom left there, you can see in red, it shows again, Tuesday, Thursday cohort. And again, that cohort tells me the days that I'm actually coming to school. Mr. Biondi, you want to jump on here? Is this about halfway through-ish?
Perfect, yes. Good evening, everybody. Matt Biondi, middle school director. And so we just want to talk about what we're doing to keep students safe, keep your child safe. And we're doing a lot. Yeah, we've been thinking about this a lot. We've been thinking about this for over a year. And we really feel comfortable, confident that we can do this well. And so all students coming into hybrid, coming in person to school, we would expect that they're going to wear a face covering. That wearing that mask is really important. We expect that for all the students and staff. They're going to use hand sanitizer. You saw this in the video coming in, and use that frequently throughout their day. We also will have sinks available they can use, but going from class to class or going down to the lunchroom or and back, those kinds of things, we would expect students to be washing their hands or using hand sanitizer throughout their day. And so we have really worked very closely with Marion County Public Health. We have strong relationship with them, monitoring, are establishing all the procedures and protocols, making sure that they are okay with what we're doing and they have input into that and they sign off on that. And so we feel really confident about what we are going to do to keep your children safe when they come into our schools, safe on the athletic field, safe in the classroom, safe walking the halls, safe going to lunch and on and off the bus. Next slide is giving some more details on what that hybrid looks like. And we needed to do some changes, some adjustments to our yearly calendar just to make the transition, give teachers a day to transition from their houses, which many of them are teaching from their homes, to school. And so, and also a grading day for the end of the quarter. And so next week, Thursday and Friday are days off for students, so no secondary students would come in. Now your younger children, they still will go to elementary school because they have a different schedule than this. Or if students are in Edge, this would not apply either. But the end of the quarter 3 is next Wednesday, a week from today, actually. And then Thursday and Friday next week would be off. Monday is similar, excuse me, the following Monday, which is the 12th, is as similar as all of our Mondays. And then you'll kind of refer back to that early slide where it shows 6th and 9th grade and 10th grade coming in on April 13th and 14th. One thing I wanted to mention about that, you can go to the next slide, please, Jacqueline, is to mention is that once a student comes into school, they stay. So your 6th grade student comes in, our 6th graders come in, and then we layer on Thursday and Friday the next 2 grade levels, and the same goes for high school. So this slide, we just want to give examples of what it looks like to be in school and what it looks like to be at home. And so this is kind of a busy slide, but I'll go through some of the highlights of it. Middle school periods are going to be about 50 minutes long. High school periods are closer to an hour. That's going to change just a little bit at both levels, depending on whether they run advisory classes or the length of their passing time might change a little bit from school to school, but that's pretty much pretty close to the average. You heard on the video that we're not going to be able to use lockers, and that's because of health and safety. We that's not a great thing to do. We are really needing and frankly, we're expecting students to be bringing their Chromebooks in each day. They need that. They need to have a Chromebook that's charged up every night, ready to go, because we're still going to they're still going to be doing their work, like completing their work, if you will, using the computer. Now, they won't be on Zoom anymore because the teacher will be live in front of them, right? But they'll still be completing their assignments on the computer. So we're not shuffling a lot of paper around and that kind of thing. So, and also if a student is sick and goes home, then they have access to all of that right on the computer. They can still complete assignments. They can still access a PowerPoint using the computer. So it's really important that that computer, that Chromebook or personal device comes in every day that they're in school. Of course, when we talk about this period of time, if you think about your students now, they have those 2 days a week where they're online live with teachers, and that might be Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. Now, instead of being online live, they will come in and be live in school with those same teachers. So we're excited about that. On the opposite days, what we call applied learning days. Those will be largely the same as what they are currently. Students will have homework that they may have to do. They may have an assignment from the previous day that they need to complete. There'll still be opportunities for them to get support mechanisms when they have questions and things like that during those days when they're at home. You know what, Jacqueline, I think we missed a slide. Can you go back one, one more? No. Back a couple slides. Yeah, so here's students do have a new bell schedule. We had to adjust the bell times, like the time that they arrive at school and when they leave school, a little bit to take into account all the need for transportation. So middle school students will start their day, all middle schools start their day at 8:45, and all high schools start their day at 9:35. Larry, maybe you could put those times in the chat if you would. And so we've already talked about this, but students are in Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday, and you can check Synergy for that. But really, if you just think about what students are doing now, you'll know what their cohort is based on their live engagement with their teacher. And Mondays continue to be the same as basically as they are now. So Jacqueline, if you could go forward a couple slides now. So here's a look at the middle school schedule, and this happens to be a Tuesday, Thursday in-person day, but you can see it's a 5-period day. Again, we're starting at 8:45, we're done at 1:45, so it's a shorter day, it's a 5-hour day. Students will have 5 periods during the day. Wednesday and Friday is their applied learning days. They'll be home finishing up assignments or doing additional practice with homework. And then Monday is available for extra support and for teacher planning. You can go on to the next one. The next slide is a high school example, and it is a Wednesday, Friday cohort student. So just the opposite side of those days. And the high schools have a 4-period day. And again, they start their day at 9:35 and get done at 2:35. And that's all the high schools are on the same exact schedule for this, which is different than it normally is. Excuse me. Next slide. We talk about students. We do have an option for students who still are not comfortable for whatever reason to come into school in person. And so if that is you, if that is a concern that you have, please contact your school directly. They want to hear from you, and they'll work through that process for you, get your name on the list, and just know that the option for students, families who do not want to come in person is our online learning platform called Edge. And so students would be at the end of the quarter, so that's end of next week, they would be unenrolled from their homeschool and enrolled in Edge. So they'll have new teachers, new kids in classes, etc. But there is an opportunity to do online learning if you don't want to come in or are not able to come in to the homeschool. And I think that brings us to the end of the formal presentation, but would love to hear any questions or comments, and you can put them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and fire away. Larry gets to answer all the questions tonight. No, I'm just teasing.
Perfect.
Hi.
Here we go.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a few questions for
Yeah.
you.
Do it.
Okay, so I have an 8th grader who's new to Salem-Keizer School District. We actually just moved here at the beginning of the pandemic, so he hasn't even went to school. So he's not familiar with really the layout of the school or anything like that. I know it's been causing a little bit of anxiety. So I guess your presentation did answer the fact that they are not going to be in one room. They will be going from class to class. With that being said, how will I know where his schedule is and where the room numbers are when those are ready? Like, where would I be able to find that information out? And can I set up a schedule to meet with somebody at the school so he could actually walk those classes to find his classroom so he doesn't have that anxiety?
Okay, so a couple questions in there. Let me see if I can address them. I wonder, are you on Parent View?
There was an issue. I did finally get on there with the app piece. I don't know. I actually went to the school at the beginning, and one of the ladies at the office was supposed to help me with it. She couldn't figure it out either. There was some technical issue, and I never heard back from them. So no, I mean, I can access it through my computer. The app piece, I haven't tried yet because I tried to do it with her. So I do have access.
Okay, so that's one way to access the schedule itself is for Parent View and to do that. And I would really encourage you to do that because just not only this year, but just as the future as he goes to high school, you know, it's a great support for them, and you can access the schedule there. But I would just call the school and ask for some assistance. I know you did that. It can be a little tricky, but they should be able to navigate that for you. If not, Shelby, I'm sure can probably have maybe some assistance for you in that respect. The other, in terms of like tours and those kinds of things, because of the situation that we're in, we're really not able to do tours for students. But I would say that, and so schools are planning very intentionally, because there's a number of students like your child that haven't been at their school before. I mean, not only are the sixth graders all brand new, but there's other students who have moved in just real similar to, so they're really thinking about that process of onboarding students. And one of the kind of the nice things about what we have to do with kids is that it's half of the students are coming in at any one time. So it's half of the 8th grade class. So a smaller group of students that will be able to be, sort of arms wrapped around them as they come into the school on those first few days. And really that first week is going to be, and even probably into the next week, is going to be a lot about, where are your classes? What are the safety protocols? Let's practice walking around the school, getting familiar with our environment. Let's think about the safety protocols. Let's get to know one another, doing some social and emotional support. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of time spent that first couple of weeks of just acclimating. Kids have been gone for over a year, and so not just your son, but all of our kids are going to need that support. So, but to just be able to go in like on a normal year, you would be able to make an appointment and maybe after school kind of walk the school grounds, but that really isn't an option currently. And I'm sorry that I have to say that, but that is the situation currently.
I would just add to your question. It doesn't give any more information really than what Mr. Biondi was sharing, but there will be also school presentations that I would encourage you to tune into, because they'll be able to give you some specifics of what it's going to look like, some more context to the presentation that we gave that's going to be specific to each middle school and high school. So you'll get information on that, and I would encourage you to really attend that. The schools are preparing information for community presentations for each of their school communities.
Perfect. Thank you. One other question. I will learn how to access that, or I will be accessing his Parent View, but when shall I be looking for the next schedule when this in-person starts? Should it already be available, or is there a time that it's going to be coming out, like after this term when they do the grading and stuff, or is it already available? I hope that makes sense.
Not completely, but I'll give it a shot. The end of the quarter is next week, and so a week from today is the last day of the quarter, and so that'll wrap that up. There'll be grades will be mailed home, the following week. But in terms of he's an 8th grader, so he'll start on. Do you know what cohort he is?
Yeah, he's the Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay. So he will start on Thursday, April, what is that, 13th, 14th, 15th? So, so that'll be his first day of school, and they'll be expecting him there and ready to, to guide him to his classroom. And what school is he at?
He is at Waldo, but I guess the question is what he's wanting me to ask is when he was at his old school, he got a printout of what classes he's going to be at with the room numbers next to it. I'm wondering when I could print that out for him. Will it be after possibly grading because we don't know what classes he's going to be in next semester or whatever quarter or whatever you guys call it. When is he going to be able to get his schedule when he goes in person that has his room numbers on it so he knows where he's going? That's what
I think that I can't speak specifically for Waldo, but I know that schools are planning on they're going to review that schedule with students that first day.
Oh,
so
okay.
So there's some schools are having students line up and, I mean, socially distance, of course, and they're going to hand out their schedule and then guide them through the hallway. Some of them are just going to put them in their first period class and then get them there and then go through the schedule with them. It just kind of depends on their approach. And I just don't know specifically about Waldo. I do know Waldo thinks they really think deeply about that. Just knowing their leadership team there, and they'll have really good supports for students. If you wouldn't mind putting your name and now I know the school and your phone number in the chat, I'd be happy to relay this information to Waldo and just have somebody reach out to you over the next week and just maybe they can answer some more questions more specifically.
Perfect. Thank you.
Not comfortable with that, you don't have to do that, of course.
Yes. Also, this is Shelby Mayers. I'm the program associate for Indian education, and our program also has cultural resource facilitators who can provide some wraparound services for your student. And I put some information, some contact information of our cultural resource facilitators and how you can reach them in the chat as well.
Perfect. Thank you. That will be very helpful.
Other questions? Does everybody understand how to find out about transportation? Has that been something that people are concerned about?
Well,
Thanks, Rachel. Go ahead, Dana.
So I'll be transporting my daughter because was supposed to go to South, but because of the programs that you guys had, she transferred over there. And so is there any, do you guys have anything earlier than 9:30 during that time, or the students aren't supposed to arrive until 9:30?
Yeah, we're asking that they don't arrive too much earlier than that, to be honest, just because we do have to keep the physical distancing. We do have to have supervision. So we're asking that kids don't get there early because, again, we're trying to keep kids separate and to be able to supervise adequately.
Okay, so that would be the same thing for the afternoon when they're going to leave as well, right? That you want them to leave.
Yeah. We want them to, yes, leave immediately would be best so that we can get, again, kids off campus and keep kids safe and away from each other.
Okay, thank you.
Question. I had the same question. So thank you for that.
Keep going.
So if you're interested in the transportation, like if you are wondering whether your student can be transported or not, then there is a mechanism for that. And Emily and Jacqueline are on from the communications office this evening, and they're both fantastic. And Emily was just going to take a moment just to show this visually real quickly for us, how to determine that.
Yeah, I'll share my screen here. I also just talked to our communications director, our transportation director, and he did let me know that our technology folks are working on updating this right now, and it should be updated tonight, he said. But right now it's just going to be showing the that you are eligible and that you would complete your writer registration. But starting tonight, that will start showing specific route information. So to get there, you're just going to go on our district homepage here, and then parents. If you navigate to under parents, there's this option to find school and bus route info. You'll click here, and then you'll choose your grade level. So for this example, I'll use high school, and then just go ahead and
a little bit slower, Emily. We're having trouble keeping up, I think, here.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Did you guys see how I got to this page? Yeah, okay. So you're here, you'll go and navigate, drop down for what your level is. So if it's middle or high school, put in your address and then find the school transportation info. And this will let you know, one, that you are eligible for transportation and give you the link to complete rider registration, which all bus riders will need to complete. So anyone who is eligible for transportation and would like to utilize that transportation does need a complete rider registration. And then I'm told by our transportation director that by tonight, our technology folks are working on getting this updated right now. This will also give you your route and specific bus stop information. Like I said, tonight, it's not available right now, but hopefully within the next few hours that will be activated.
Thanks, Emily. Any questions around that or any other questions?
I hate to monopolize people's time here, but
Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So I heard you guys state that we need to have the children bring the Chromebook and the charger. Is there other school supplies that they're going to need?
That's a great question. You know, I think I don't think there as nearly as much this year as there would be in the past. Certainly something to write with, and that kind of thing. A small binder or something like that would be great. And typically in our schools, we have students get or are asked to bring a large binder with sections and so forth and all of that. But because so much of our learning is on the computer, and we're trying to reduce the amount of paper that we're shuffling back and forth between teachers and students, I don't think there's a big need for that. But I think just some sort of a smaller binder with pens and pencils and that kind of thing, scratch paper, that sort of piece that you might want to use as he's in math class or whatever, I think that would be sufficient. A backpack so that he can put those things and his Chromebook in them as he's walking from class to class is also very helpful.
Yeah, I would chime in and just say that would be a great question also in the presentation to ask if it isn't covered in your school community presentation to ask, because I know like my daughter started back in elementary, which is obviously different than our secondary, but they bring their math book. Like that's one class I know that every time they go, they have to take their math book.
Okay.
That'd be a great specific question to ask at the community presentations, at the school presentations.
Okay, great. And just to clarify, the start date, the start times is from 8:45 to 1:45 for 8th grade or middle school students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. And then, so you don't want us to get there like 5 minutes early, like you want them there on time and then leaving right on time, right?
5 minutes early is fine. And I think that's
Okay.
reasonable. 5-10 minutes is kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just don't want them late for class.
Yeah, even 15 minutes, students will, but really gets earlier than that, then it gets to be a little bit of a trouble for supervision for us. But all students do have the option of getting breakfast, lunch, and what we call suppers, dinners. And so what typically is going to happen in almost every school that I've talked to so far is students will come in, in one of the exits, and there's going to be information about the different exits that students might go through by grade, for instance, and then they'll pick up a breakfast and head to their class and have the option of eating breakfast right there in that first period class. So being there 10 or 15 minutes early is actually helpful just to get that breakfast eaten if they want to do that.
Great, thank you.
And I don't think our Larry is absolutely correct. I know every school is having a communication session. You would have to check with the website or to reminders through Remind, if that makes sense, about the dates and times for those. I don't think that the instructional curricular piece is going to be intense like that first week, like they have to have everything figured out. I think it's really going to be a lot of, hey, we're back in school. We're so happy to see you. Who do we have with us in this classroom? Let's learn. There's safety protocols we're learning. It's not going to be like day one, we're heavy into mathematics, right? So, you know, there's just that balance. We understand that. So I think you can just kind of, you know, and you'll get, the students will get information too if you've missed it some other way.
Well, I have a question here from other parents that they were asking, what are the procedures around lunchtime?
Larry, you want to take that one?
Procedures around lunchtime were as some of you know or may not know, but Ready School Safe Learners, what comes out from Oregon Department of Education that we base all of our plans off of. Originally, for a long time, basically the whole year has been a 6-foot space between students. Recently, I think last week, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I think last week they came out with new guidance that students could be 3 feet apart, as long as the metrics are within a certain number. Anyway, when we're doing lunch, though, we are still going to keep the 6 feet of distance because our masks are going to be down to eat and drink. And students are going to be basically in cohorts of no more than 36, so we can keep track of who is in contact with whom. So that's how lunch is going to look. And at the middle school level, they're all closed campus in terms of students aren't going off campus to eat. At the high schools, that will vary. At some high schools, there will be some open campus, and at some high schools, there will be closed campus. But that'll be part of the school to a community presentation for how that works at each location and at each site. So again, we're trying to obviously do every safety precaution that has been recommended for us to do in terms of keeping 6 feet of space during lunchtime. And that I know you wanted specifics, but some are using big open areas and breaking those apart. Some are having students eat back in classrooms. So there'll be a variety of that. I know McNary has like several meal spot locations for kids to be able to eat at. And I know they're also going to make, some of the high schools are making outdoor areas accessible for kids to be able to eat at also. So it's kind of a wide variety, but our main thing is keeping our space when we have meal times. You're muted, Mr. Biondi.
I already mentioned the three meals a day, and the entree will be heated up for students for the lunch meal. But it is all bagged lunches throughout the day. Other questions, Jacqueline?
Yes, I have another one. Will parents be notified if their children are exposed to someone who tests positive for COVID-19?
Absolutely.
And then there's a second part. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a process in place that the health team will initiate if we get information that a student or staff member or someone in the building has tested positive for COVID. There is a protocol and a mechanism for that to happen, because that's the whole point of the cohorting and the whole point of doing school the way we're doing is so we can let families know if something like that were to happen.
Perfect. The second part of that question is, how soon will the notification come?
As soon as possible. So I guess I couldn't give you a timeline of how fast that happens or how fast that turnaround is, but that's going to be as soon as they know, they're going to act immediately, because we don't want that to happen the next day. We wouldn't want the students that are, or staff members that have been in contact with that person to be returning to school the next day. So I would say by the next time school would roll around, they would know, unless there was something that happened in the middle of the night or something that we didn't know right before school or something, as soon as we can, to stop that contact right away and to get people safely removed, if that makes sense.
Great.
And I just want to let everybody know, I did just drop a link in the chat that has more information about our notification protocol for COVID-19. So there's just to see it in black and white in front of you. That's another resource.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily.
Another question is, how will passing time in the hallways take place?
So schools have put in protocols that basically give one-way traffic where possible in the hallways, so we're not both crossing on the same side of the hallway right next to each other, trying to keep kids on either side of the hallway. It may not necessarily be all one-way traffic. There may be some two-way traffic, but we're going to use that whole what we'd call in a road like the median. That would be the spot where we would have a dead area where people aren't going on, and we're using just the edges of the hallway for passing time. And some schools, where possible, where schedules allow, don't have students all leaving their classrooms at the same time. So there are adjusted bell times, some staggered bell times, so everybody isn't leaving and crossing paths at the same time during passing times.
And remember that only half the students will be there on any particular day too, so that also is very helpful. And some schools have been able to sort of keep parts of the school more with, like at the middle school, it's a little easier than high school, but you know, 6th graders are in this hallway and 8th graders are in this hallway, and those kinds of things. So whatever schools could do to try to mitigate and you know, these issues, they've really been thinking about doing it. It can be a little different school to school based on their facility and what they have available.
Great. Another question is, will students have PE, and are students be required to dress down?
We are going to have PE. We're working on the dressing down piece. We haven't fleshed out every detail because we're working on that for locker rooms and that piece. So we're not 100% where we're going to be, but really want to be able the kids to have as close to a normal experience in PE as possible.
Perfect. Let's see, I have another one here. It says, do you have anything set up to help students that are dealing with anxiety?
Well, the support, we haven't, well, boy, that's a big question. We have lots of different things that we do in a district to support students. We have even outside therapeutic support from a variety of vendors, partners from our, you know, in the mental health community that help our schools out. But, you know, we actually in our district have a more robust sort of number of counselors than most districts. We have lots, you know, I know we always talk, we don't ever have enough, and we probably don't, but we do have a lot of school counselors that are there. They'll be there in person to support students. We have teams of staff that are looking at students and talking about ways to support students as part of our support systems with kids. And we have other folks that you know, there you may have heard about people knocking on doors and connecting with families. We have all sorts of different ways that we're trying to support families and trying to support students to get them the support they need. And I mentioned this a couple of times in a different context earlier, but really I think the first number of days, even couple of weeks of school is going to be a lot about just getting kids back in, making sure that they feel safe and supported, making sure they know who's there in class with them, kind of those social, emotional needs, and making sure that we're meeting those. And so there's really a lot of thought being put into how we can support students in that way. So I'm really confident about what we can do to help kids that have those needs.
Great. About how is the bathroom situations going to work? How often are they going to be cleaning, or what is the protocol for bathroom use?
There'll be
Larry's the bathroom guy.
Yeah, there'll be cleaning protocols. They have a set schedule that through custodial services where that will be done. You know, obviously we don't want students to congregate in the bathroom, so we may have staff in the hallways just to make sure we don't have 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 kids in the bathroom all at once. So we'll ask that students go in there, use the restroom, and then come out. Obviously, we want hand washing. We want students to be safe and come out of there, but we don't want kids congregating in there. So we'll make sure that doesn't happen to the best of our ability. And obviously, again, there are cleaning protocols to make sure that we get that taken care of and cleaned up there. Again, this is going to be an important part where we ask everybody to really wash their hands once they leave, open the door with your elbows, really trying to keep themselves safe as possible. So we definitely have that in mind.
Are there,
Go ahead.
I have a question.
I just wanted to, okay, good.
Can
Perfect.
you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry I'm late. I've been doing other stuff that took me away from getting on earlier. So this question's probably already been asked, but you were just talking about hand washing stations and bathrooms. Will there be additional hand washing stations in addition to the bathrooms? Like, I have a child at McKay, and there's some bathrooms that they've locked up and denied students access to because there's been smoking issues and all that. So will there be like freestanding hand washing stations somewhere within the halls or somewhere for the kids to access that aren't using the bathrooms but want to tidy up?
Yes, there are hand sanitizing stations at the entrances and exits of buildings. There will be those stationed across the building, and also in classrooms. Some classrooms have sinks in them where they could be able to wash their hands. And I'm Matt, you can correct me on this, but I think we're also going to have those available in terms of hand sanitizer in some classrooms as well. So there'll be ways that we are obviously trying to do everything we can to make sure students' hands can stay clean. We know that's one of our major defenses against this.
Okay. I also have a question about locker usage. My daughter has PE this semester, both quarters, and she's also an athlete. And so she would have to carry a backpack or a bag that can carry all of her sports equipment or uniform or whatever, shoes, sports shoes, cleats. And then she'd have to have clothes for changing into PE, and then her Chromebook and any other material she'd need for instruction during class time. What options do the kids have when they need a locker, or is she just supposed to haul that stuff around?
We really don't have an option for using lockers at this point right now. So
Even for PE kids?
Yeah, even for PE, we're not issuing lockers.
And then what about locker room use? Like her PE class is the last period of the day, I believe, which is great for her and her classmates. But there might be kids that have PE first period. So when they're in class instruction, they have to go to the next 4 classes smelling ripe. Like, what, they don't get the option to use a locker room?
There could be the option to use a locker room. We're working on that with custodial services, because again, that'd be some cleaning protocols that we're trying to make sure we get all the classrooms clean and all the other areas that need to be cleaned as well. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, the showers aren't really used. What's used is the area there to change. But in terms of being ripe or what, they generally don't shower, to be honest. It'll be the changing facility that we're trying to make available.
Okay, well, that's really what I'm meaning, because I know the kids don't like to take showers. They're all like weird about their bodies and stuff, but some of them like to take like a quick like wipe down, like maybe wipe down their pits, their sweaty areas, and then spray something on. So they'll be able to do that in the locker room.
We're trying to get that lined out, but we're not. I can't commit to that to you right now on this call.
I don't think for PE classes that's going to be available. I'll be honest with you. I think for athletics, that's what we're really looking at. I think part of I think the conversation around PE is, I think as a PE teacher, I would want to be thinking about that issue and maybe thinking about the actual activities that I have students do in terms of the intensity of those workouts and what is that going to really look like. And I think that's probably another part of the mitigation from the sweaty, stinky aspect of this is some more, a little bit more of the low impact kind of things. I know there's going to be some variance with that, but in the middle school, you know, the period is 50 minutes, and so you know, I think it's a shorter period of time, and I think that they're going to really have to think about how intense some of those things are. And there's also requirements around that, the cleanliness of even around those things too, if you're using athletic equipment and, you know, disinfecting equipment and so forth. And so they're going to have to make some judicious choices about what that's going to look like, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I mean, my daughter is like, she's just thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to have to be doing activities that make me sweat, my participation grade is probably going to go down, because I don't want to have to sweat so much that I'm going to stink during, you know, passing time or whatever. And I think a lot of kids will think that, especially the girls. Mm-hmm. They're going to be phobic about having odor.
Yeah, I understand. We do understand the issue. We really do. It's just, you know, we're a little bit of a caught in what we can do in this situation. And I do think staff are cognizant of that issue. And so I would not want a situation where students are being penalized because they are afraid of doing something that makes them too stinky. But I think we can navigate those issues.
Yeah,
I
okay.
hope that we can.
All right. So no lockers, no.
The athletic piece is a
showers.
different piece because, you know, if you have a competition that afternoon, you're going to need, you know, or workout clothes you're going to need to change into. So we are looking at that particular piece. You know, how do you get into your uniform if you're going to be playing that afternoon, you know, that kind of thing. So that's different, but that's different than sort of every period of PE and the use of a space for that. That's a different sort of intensity of the use of a locker room, if you will.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of
Okay.
working through that.
I mean, I know just like talking with a couple coaches, they said that, you know, because some of them actually have classrooms in the school, they would let their athletes store their sport bag that has their uniform and gear in it in their classrooms. So they wouldn't have to worry about locker
Yeah,
space.
I think that's going to happen.
And so
Yeah.
that's great. But like the in-person learning is going to start in a couple weeks, and that's during what's called season 3. And my daughter does field activities. So track and field, that's usually like hundreds of kids. So I don't know where they're going to store hundreds of kids' sports backpacks with their cleats and all that stuff in it. So it just seems like something has to be considered for that, and where it's going to be safe. Because I mean, you know, like for my daughter doesn't play softball, but I know a lot of parents that pay a lot of money for their gear and they don't want their kid to have their gear stolen while it's being stored somewhere, not in a locker. So things to think about.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody
Others
has
on the
any more
call?
questions?